DataMatch Enterprise. This is our flagship product. This is a tool created to get you the most out of your data, to create this crosswalk across these tables, to be able to provide you these relationships, the single source of truth that you're looking to get, okay? And that is today's idea. So we're going to start by creating a new project here, okay? Live webinar. We'll call this single source of truth. And let's talk about those challenges. Let's talk about some data sets that we're going to work with, and let's take off. So once again, from top to bottom, this is the ideal workflow. We import, we profile, we run some address verification, and we're going to talk about some messy data. So we're going to import 2 or more sets of data. Keep in mind, as mentioned, we can work comfortably within a data stack. We're going to work across 2 sets of data. One is going to be customer master. Usually this is the, you have an existing database and you're going to compare new ingested data over to that customer master. And we're going to compare these tables here. So we're going to talk about some of these problems that we have. And let's go ahead and get started. So we've imported our data. Our tool is going to allow you to house big data sets. Keep in mind, we're talking about millions and millions of records, okay? And we have a data library that can house your Dun & Bradstreet, your do not call list. There's a lot of other things that we can do here to be able to determine a single source of truth. Do we want to strip out or suppress any of these other records if they exist in the data library? Do we want to move forward, et cetera, et cetera? So we're going to create now a single source of truth project file. So we've imported our data. First and foremost, we're going to profile. Now, profiling your data helps you understand. When you're looking to understand what exists in these systems, we want to understand if the data is disparate and how disparate is it. Can I match an address to an address to if it's empty? Can I even match an address to another table's address to if there's no address to, right? That might be a single line of address. And in your other table, you have your address 1 through 5. In one table, I have a full name. In the other table, I have a first name, I have a last name, I have a middle name. Once again, a lot of issues when we're looking across different tables that we're going to tackle. Now, in our profiling, we're able to understand if it's valid, invalid, and here's a beautiful place to start. So what I tend to call it the law of the land. We use patterns, regular expressions, Unix code that allows us to, first of all, before even tackling these matches or these issues, understand if the data is being imported the right way. So am I importing the data the way it should look like? What do I have in my hands? We can actually tell and understand if there's invalid patterns. So are there issues with what I just ingested that will not match up? So I want to know where I need to start working on and what I need to start working on, okay, to understand. And that's where we're going to start from here. So once I understand what's valid, what's invalid, I would either tackle or understand that, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be able to use these for my matching purposes, or clean up this. So this is giving you a heads up on where we need to clean up. And once again, 80% of record linkage and mapping is going to be data preparation, okay? Data preparation is very key. So once we understand what's going on, that is going to give us a heads up on what we need to go and match up on. So let's take off. So once I know where these issues are at, I would start cleaning these up so I can increase my precision, my strike rate across these tables. We're going to move forward to the next step. Now, you don't have to take these steps. For the folks in the US and Canada, we do provide US CAS certification. We provide US Postal certification. These are bin files that get updated every 2 months on-prem, okay? And keep in mind, we're .NET. So for anybody who's not familiar with our tools, we're .NET. We sit behind your firewall. We never make calls externally. Very safe, compliant, HIPAA compliant, also GDPR for all those folks over on the other side of the ocean there. So this can help you increase as well matching, okay? And if your addresses sometimes are empty and we only have a couple of pieces, we can figure out if there's enough pieces of your address what are those other populated points that we need to add? Where else are we looking at that can help us, obviously, increase these strike rates? We're going to move to the next step. And once again, you do not need to take any of these steps. You can jump from step to step. Now, very important that you do so for the sake of striking and matching up your data sets. So let's take a look at these two disparate sets of data. So I got new prospects, my customer master, I got my nice first name, middle name, and last name. And over on my new prospects, I got a full name. So I need to I need to change or parse out these names to match up the best we can. Now, for those folks in the B2B, we'll talk about a different scenario. We're going to be in a B2C scenario right now. Some folks will create a master person index. Some people will create a single source of truth. Are we looking for the company? Are we looking for the same people? It's going to be up to you guys from that point moving forward. So we're going to start with contact name here. And in the contact name, we're going to go, and out of the box, we have rules. We've been doing this for so long now that we have rules that will allow you to fix and solve some of these issues and pain points right from the point of entry. So we're going to apply a full name scenario here to what we're doing. And that's going to give us a first name, last name, and here's something great we add on. We include a nickname library that will allow you or provide you an OR statement, okay, that will allow you to match up Vic to Victor, okay? It will allow you to look at your Bill or William, depending on how a client feels that day. You're working with whatever's came in through a lead generation form, a walk-in, an operate, your legacy system, online, mobile. It all depends on how this data is coming in. So we're providing you a lot of different options to be able to get that single source of truth and roll over what we want in the end. Okay. Now, let's do the following. So what I do to one table, I do to the other. Now we have an excellent healing or curation process for the address out of the box for the US, UK, English-speaking colonies such as New Zealand, Australia, some of Canada. And we're going to show you what we do here. So I'm going to apply address out of the box. Once again, these are all out of the box. Now, keep in mind, we can build custom regular expressions for different countries. Every country has their own pattern as far as an address goes. And we're going to look at a couple of different scenarios with what we have here. What you do to one table, you're going to want to do to the other. So right now, what I just did was parsed out this address, collated it. If you see Suite 101 is now where it belongs, and you'll see that now I have my 1830. This was an address too. So first thing is getting our ducks in a row, lining up all our columns, okay, and getting things ready to move forward. So once again, preparation is key. Our tool allows you to do so very fluidly, very easily, very intuitive. And we don't, need too much development there. Now, if you guys want to get a little more robust, we provide you, once again, regular expression pattern builders. We'll show you when this is very useful in the matching process. Now, keep in mind, this can help a company. Our tool can be used on the enterprise side to help your CMO, to help your CTO or your database administrator, and we can link a couple of very important pieces of an enterprise to link up a couple of pieces of data, not only just for one-offs, but who's monitoring the ingestion of the data to your company? Is there anybody governing? How important are these fields for you guys? So one thing is to get clean. Another thing is to stay clean. And we'll show you how important that is here throughout the course of the rest of this presentation. So once again, our idea right now is to find the same people across these tables and determine, and maybe in a single source of truth, we're going to consolidate these two tables into one. We're going to determine what we want to do with the duplicates that we find after we find these duplicates, and what determines a master record. So we'll have some rules that allow us to do so. So once again, parsing out, building up, making everything look alike. Same casing. If we are going to have a single source of truth, let's make sure, we're sometimes going to pick data from one table over another table, and they're going to have their own rules. They're going to have their own look and feel. They're going to have their own variations, and our tool is going to provide you a toolkit to tackle all of that. So we're going to go with the same casing, my company name. In this case, we're going to go to Wordsmith. That's going to allow me to pull up a library that's going to give me, I either can load an XML or Excel library, or I'm going to be able to or build rules right from scratch, okay, and reuse these over and over again. So from now on, I don't want to see INC, I want INC that, and I only work on account, so I'm not looking at everything that exists. Or I can import, once again, rules that you already have in place, okay. Now we have some rules out of the box that we also would include. Let us know, and we'll see. But everybody has different variations and options that they'll like to use. I'll just apply these to some. We're going to click on refresh transform data. Now these rules, I can save modified only and say this is a live webinar rule set. Okay. We're going to save that. We're going to close that down. I'm going to go to my next table, company name. We're going to highlight on company name. We're going to click on Wordsmith again, but this time I can load, okay, and we're going to load once again my live webinar rule set. Click on OK. Those are the rules I just created with you guys. Click on refresh transform data. But as far as machine learning goes, wait, there's new variations in this next table that I have not seen before. I'm going to click on refresh. That drags in the new data from this table, and I can see if there's new variations that I had not added or caught. And here goes a company. So I can build and get smarter, save modified only, save over my XML or Excel library, and that just got smarter. Now for my next project, when I move forward and bump to another set of data, I can transform that data once again to my master rule set and have it follow our flow as far as MDM goes. So that's very important. We can also suppress and strip out the noise from the company name to match in a B2B scenario. I don't want to match ABC Incorporated to ABG Incorporated. I want to only look at ABC and ABG and understand they're not so much alike. All right. Very important in semantics. What comes before, what comes after, you might want to include, not include. So very important. Now, for those folks in the B2B, business to business environment, we provide some really powerful tools to be able to get you the most of your match across these tables. Sometimes we're going to be matching on a company name that is doing business as. So we will not strike a match across that. But if you were to have taken a look into the URL or into the TLD within that email structure, if we strip out the username, the .com, the triple W's, the HTTPS's, and look at that URL as an OR statement, we can compare your company name and have 2 more chances of striking. That's a B2B environment. Right now we're in a B2C. We're going to look for the same consumer, same person, and we're going to do so. Now, when you are working on that, we're going to look at all possibilities. Our tool is going to allow you to look at all combinations. So if the same phone number in the same city, in the same state, with the same date of birth are the same, that's a match to me. So we're going to want to think about what determines relationships. Okay, very important. These are the strategies that you need to come up with. Over at Data Ladder, we're going to definitely help you out. We include excellent consultation, services, best practice, and get you guys ramped up pretty quickly to figure out what's the best strategy that you guys should use, save, and reuse. And that's what we're here for. So I'm going to, in my scenario, clean up a phone number. Phone number will give me a relationship. People tend to stick away and stay away and stick to your traditional, if my name and my address match, then that's a go. Not only did we parse out your address into its individual components, because this is the ideal way to match. In a B2C, you have consumer householding scenarios where you can have 50 people in the same apartment building. They have the same exact address. The only difference is apartment 11 and apartment 111, suite 20 and suite 200. Very big difference here in what apartment 11 and 111 are, and we want to be able to add weights to individual components. Once again, everything can be saved and reused, and we're looking for a single source of truth. So we need to look at all these components. Sometimes you'll have the luxury of having this information provided to you in one table. Sometimes across the other table, we will not have this information provided, and we're going to need to be able to use everything that we have allowed to us to determine these relationships, if that makes sense. So moving forward, we're going to get ready. So I'm going to apply these rules. I stripped out all this information from the phone number field. So you're going to see, let me get rid of the one character missing here, plus sign. And here we go. Now we have a block of numbers. We can even get rid of the leading indicative, or we can get your golden look. Every country, you're in the US, you have your parentheses over the area code, followed by space, followed by 3 digits, followed by a hyphen, followed by 4. We, using regular expressions, can get you that golden look, but for the sake of matching, we're going to strip out everything. We're going to strip out the noise and pretty much look at a block of numbers for the sake of phone number. Once again, strategies will vary depending on what you have and what you don't have. That will let us know what we need to do. So in my scenario, I'm in a B2C scenario. We're going to be looking to find a single source of truth as far as a person goes, the same person with nickname libraries, with different addresses, maybe even moving pieces like a billing and a shipping address. If you have that in your B2C, it's usually more in a B2B environment, but we can move along and we'll show you how to do so. We can also concatenate and rebuild back these columns if we want to, rebuild your new address one versus your old address one. Let's actually do that. We're going to show you guys here. We're going to say this is our new address one, and this is a curated address. Once again, depending on where you get your data from, you're going to most likely not be getting, U.S. postal certified data. It's up to you guys on how that takes place, but we're going to show you guys some options here on how we create new columns, new addresses, and let's do that here. So bear with me here. We're going to create this new address one, and let's create it. Okay. Here we go. Street number, pre-direction street, post-direction street suffix. Click on OK. And what we will now have is a new address one. So instead of having the Suite 101, I now have my new 1830 West Calder Street. Not only are we looking to be able to link up all this data together, we're also looking to look good, look standard, and follow MDM best practice scenarios. All right, so we're now going to move into the matching piece. Okay, now we can do a lot here. There's a lot of space. Once again, single source of truth can come from numerous disparate data sets. I can have some PayPal extracts. I can have a JSON file from some social media. I can have my Postgres or SQL database. So we can pull in and look, throw everything in a bucket, so to speak, and look across all of these. And that's the idea. You're going to tell the software where you want these relationships to be found from. It could be between certain tables. It could be within a table and then across another table. Depends on how you guys are going to want to throw these systems or sources at us, but we'll be able to handle what you have there based on the sources allowed. Now, I'm going to go to the next step. The next step is allowing me now to map. We're going to click on suggest mapping, save some time there, and there will be some manual mapping we need to teach. Now, in our real-time scenarios, we can actually learn from the string that's found within the actual column and tell you what we think this is based on patterns. Okay, we're going to go look at the last name, middle name. Okay, and we'll do some certain things here. Middle and initial. So we're looking for the same person. So we're going to double click. We're going to give ourselves some room here. We're looking for the same person with the same last name. Now, I added a common name to this. So let's go ahead and look for the common name. Okay, so I need to back up and get the common name. We're going to use the nickname library in this. So we're going to back it up, go to the customer master, go to the first name, click on first name. That's going to include, if you see here, a nickname for us over at the first name. And you'll see it here. You have your common name now. Don could be Donald, Tim could be Timothy, etc., moving forward. Now, matching between tables. And now we're going to use this common name that we have. So this is that nickname. Very important in B2C. And here is, well, not contact name. This is the wrong one. Let's map up common name. All right, double click on that. Now, here's what's happening here. This is an AND statement. We use a combination of algorithms: Jar-Winkler, phonetic, Soundex, Porter, Liebenstein's distance. And what we're saying right now is that if 65% of text string patterns, first three letters, last three letters, trigram approach, if they're matching, I'm willing to consider this a match. Okay. I'm going to now set this following up. I'm going to set up some rules. We're going to keep the first name on the same. Now, how do I compare what this is going to do is going to look at the first name in the new prospects, compare it to the customer master, the first name over here. If it meets at 65%, it's a strike. We're ready to go. Now we're going to pass. This is an AND statement. So now the last name needs to meet its 85 and common name, but maybe common name is empty. So we're going to apply some advanced options here. We can add score to first letter. But what we're going to do is create that bucket across first name and last name and say, hey, look, I want you to look and treat this all as if it was one row. I want first name to be compared to contact and first name to be compared to common name. Now, we're going to do a couple things differently. We're going to look at the street number. We're going to look at the street and the zip code to make sure that we're looking at the same person in the same place. Street number should have 100% value. We'll tolerate some room for error with the street. And we're going to build a definition. This is an OR statement. So now we go and reuse. Now we're going pretty quick. Anybody has any questions or wants to work on some of your own data, we're more than glad to provide a proof of concept, slow this down a bit, and show you guys exactly how we can meet these or what we can yield as far as strike rates and single source of truth. So now I'm going to use a PO box number with the same zip code. I'm going to lock in. This is 100% match. We said that on the first name we were going to 65, so we control our matches so we don't get different results. Remember, these are different passes and OR statements that we're going to join into one view. So this is the power of our tool here, allowing you to either work with what you have. We have empty weights, so if the common name is empty, then it's okay as long as the last name and the first name met. What if the last name is empty, but the zip code is 100%? The PO box number is 100%, and the contact first name is above the 65. That's still a match to me. So if I knew that that's a possibility by looking at our profile that we ran earlier initially in the process, I now can catch that issue. It's not going to miss out. So once again, we're bobbing and weaving based on what you have and what's allotted and provided to you in these disparate sets of data. We're going to add another match definition. We're going to show you. We clean up Hewlett-Packard's database. They have over 27 match definitions. Obviously, they're collecting a lot of data in a customer's journey, okay, throughout their life cycle. And, obviously, their total cost, is a driver, total contract values, depending on what you guys have and how deep this goes. We can use this kind of information across numerous branches within the enterprise. And I'm going to do first name, last name. We're going to add that common name. But this time I'm doing the email, right? So if an email is exactly the same and the name is also that 65, some folks might say, well, if they're in a different city or, state, then that's not good enough for me. Okay, then we can block those guys out by simply adding the zip code into such. So here, kind of change the format. It doesn't matter. We're still locking these guys up. We're saying this is 65, last name's 80, 100. Okay, you guys want it to be in the same city or the same zip? Then we could throw the zip or the city to block them out. We're going to build another match definition. This one, first name, last name, common name, and this time let's use our good old phone number. We should be cleaning these up, obviously, initially to get the best possibility. And this is how we're going to effectively be able to look at every piece that we have available to build a single source of truth. Very difficult to do so if you don't have tools like such, because some sources, some systems will provide you some data, some won't. So depending on what we have available is what we're going to make available. And we can tolerate, once again, those moving pieces. When we do have them, when we don't have them. We're going to click on match. We want to save. We can save every one of these steps. And now we're going to look at what we get and do so by running our match process. We're going to look at our match results view. What we're going to see here is a group ID. This is a cluster ID. getting you set up to be able to build a crosswalk from. It's going to tell you the source name. We match the cross between the tables. So obviously, we're going to see results between tables, new prospects, and customer master, what record it existed in, what record it matched across, a final score, which is a summary or an average of the, well, actually, in this case, it's going to be the best score based on, we have a lot of different options there that you can choose from. A master that's determined by default, the ability to manually do some selections where as far as not duplicate or it is or flag it, or let's take a look at it later. The first name, last name, obviously the scores, the match definitions. Remember, we used 3, 4 match definitions, and you're going to have a golden cup. This golden cup is very important. So at the top is the good, towards the middle is the bad, and at the bottom is the ugly. I like to start from bottom up. I like to see what things are not looking good. Here we're catching some spousal records. Turgay, okay, I like what's going on. John, Joe, okay, let's start looking at some of these records and see if we have false positives. And once again, you don't want to live in the perfect world. That's the power in our tool. We want the fuzzy. We want that threshold. We want to know where some cutoff is at. If you don't want to see this, you just raise the weight and, obviously raise the bar and get a little tighter. So let's look at Rick and Marie. Look at the bad stuff here. Why is this being considered a match? Okay, because we are very low on the name, okay? And we're going to be able to look at some examples. We want to be low. I want to be able to do some just select and drop off. I don't want to have a perfect view here. For any data steward looking, you don't want to just see what looks to be, definitely a match. M. Young, some phonetic, Mateo, Matt, Carl with a K, Carl with a C, Fred, Alfredo, a lot of different scenarios here. Let's take a look at this Turgay, totally different address. Why is this guy considered a match? Let's look at the Golden Cup. Where's the Golden Cup? Golden Cup is on the email. Looks to be that this guy is the same guy. Is it that he gave me a billing, a shipping, a spousal address? Depending on where your data is coming from, your campaigns coming from, you'll be able to develop a strategy around what you have and what you don't have and understand what's going on. So here, Wally Wallace, as you see, we're able to pick up an interesting, scenario here where Patrick, okay, is helping us out and figuring out what we need to understand. So once again, once you feel comfortable about these matches, the next step is building up a golden rule. Now, there's a lot more to here. There's more tweaking that we can do. We can export right from here back to your Postgres, SQL, DBF, wherever we want to be back into. Get you a Venn diagram of the relationships found across some stats. We're going to build up the golden record in the next step, so we can tell the tool, hey, you know what? We can either determine a master record a couple of different ways. I can determine a master record based on the timestamp. So it makes sense that if the latest record probably is the best record that we want to figure this out on. And we're going to figure out the following. And we're going to do the following. So we can determine a relationship based on a master record, based on IDs, maybe the ID number in a CRM, maybe a source, a specific source is just, the best place to consider a master. Sometimes we don't know, so we can pick from either or. We have a couple of different rules. Pick the latest record, the oldest record, in a parent-child relationship. We might want to make the parent the oldest record and the child is the newest record, right? If we wanted to keep that. So sometimes in single source, maybe, obviously, if we're looking for single source, we just want one record. But if you were looking to keep along its children, then we would want the others and tag those as subsequent records that were coming in. Up to you guys. Different scenarios, different situations. We're going to overwrite records, though. We have the ability to build golden records, and here is one of the key functions that will help you determine a master record. So we're going to build this up. We're going to say, look, I don't know where to take the company name from. Take it from the record called master. That would be the record that had the latest date, let's say, or the latest input. Okay. I don't know where to take the email from. So in the email scenario, you know what? The longest, shortest, most popular is, do we take the frequent? The most frequent? Sometimes you'll have 5 matches and we just don't know where to take things from, and we need the one that was used the most. Okay. We're going to talk about merging all values into one. We're going to talk about where does this usually take place, phone numbers, right? We don't want to lose any contact information when we're building a golden record. A single source of truth is going to keep all those other points of contact and roll them into one row. Let's click on overwrite records and take a look at what we just did here. So take a look at the orange. Orange reflects change. And what we see here is that we had hens, okay, Will to Balam, hence Tooth Studio, Tooth Studio. BON, BOM. Very slight difference, big difference. So here you'll see your Sales Inc., you see your Sales.com. Very different emails. As if they were different, you're going to have your Gmail, then you're going to have your corporate email. We're rolling that all into one row. We'll comment the limit and parse out in the export process. But I want to roll everything into one record. If the numbers were different, if the phone numbers, so this is the way to effectively build up a single source of truth. Build one row with the latest and greatest information. I want the company name that was the most frequent or from the latest input. I want all the emails. I want everything in one row. Why keep this dead weight in the single source of truth? Some people will not. Most people don't get rid of duplicates for the fear of losing data they don't have. If I can roll this all effectively into one row, which you've seen here with our merge and survivorship rules, we're on the way to the races, okay? We can have conditional rules. If it's empty, hey, overwrite it. If it's not empty, leave it alone. Leave what was there before. A lot of different rules at your hand disposal to be able to build these golden records in a single source of truth. Once you've done such, we're on our way to the races. And once again, it all depends on what you want to do. Do you want to see everything that we just did? Not in a single source of truth. Maybe for a report. Here you're going to be able to see all the dupes. Hide system columns, you'll see your duplicates and why they were duplicates. Murphy's Fine Wine, a couple of different ways on this side. Now we're looking for people, obviously, in this scenario. All of unique records. So show maybe I want to run some more profiling on these records that didn't match and run another match process. In your case, for a single source of truth, we're going to click on Show with Master Record Remaining. What is a master record remaining? There's only going to be one record. So when I click and sort here, I only see 146. If I show all of the records, I'm going to see all the other dupes. This took the best record, our best golden record, all our phone numbers that were added to these records. If we had different emails, if we had different phone numbers, you would see now in this final export, you see the comma delimiter. It's taking that information over to the master record, and now we're left off with one single source of truth that has the best phone numbers, all of the phone numbers, all of the emails, the best address. If you were to CAS certify them, which we have that feature as well, then that would probably be the best way to go as far as your address. What company name do we take? Do we have a Dun & Bradstreet, Hoover's? Do we have some other place that could help us flag or tag that, enrich that? If not, the most frequent, the most complete. And this is how we get to a single source of truth quickly. Any questions you may have, feel free to let us know. Once again, we can export, we can schedule this process, everything you've seen here within this GUI can be created for you guys in real time. And if you can imagine it, we can build it.